Hello, I just wanted to make a quick video explaining what tapping is and why I tap and what I tap. A lot of times I've mentioned in videos to tap along with me and I don't really explain it. In some of my videos I explain it, but it's kind of mixed in with everything else I'm talking about. And I've had a few people ask me the past several days and I don't want to send them to another video and tell them just to listen out for it somewhere in there. So I wanted to make one just specifically on tapping. So I'll wait a few minutes to see who all gets on, and then, well, not a few minutes, a few seconds, but if you're watching the replay, just forward a little bit. But I'm just going to explain what tapping is, how I view tapping. There are so many different explanations of tapping. Different people will explain tapping different ways, but I'm going to tell you how I see it and why I do it. So we'll just wait a few seconds to see who gets on. Okay, so tapping, the reason why I tap is when I first learned tapping, it's called the emotional freedom technique. You can Google all about it. You can get different definitions. People explain it differently, like I said. So the way I was told was that it's like acupuncture and there's certain pressure points. So the way I first learned it was there was a bunch of different points you had to do. You know, you start off, I think, on the head, and then there's a point right here, a point right here, one right here, one right here, one right here, one right here, under the armpit, and all over the place. And I didn't feel comfortable, obviously, doing that in public. And I've mentioned on some of my other videos where sometimes if I'm panicking about something, if I'm out in public, I'll snap, or I'll just tap like this, or if I'm driving, I'll tap my knee or whatever. Most of the time I snap. So my go-tos is I'll either do this when I'm talking. I could be talking to somebody and I'll just start doing this because it's just become a habit, or I'll snap. So I did not personally like the belief that it had to be all these different points. To me, I found that limiting. And when I started working on my beliefs around food and what the body was capable of, my whole thing was getting rid of all of these limiting beliefs, all these things that were limiting my ability to do something. So if I was going to continue to believe that I had to do all of these tapping things and I missed one or I did it out of order, then immediately I was feeling like I did it wrong. And so that didn't go along with what I wanted to believe, if that makes sense. So for those of you who have done tapping and still feel that you need to do all those tapping points, that's good. That's great. I just personally didn't want to feel so restricted. And so I just tell people in my other videos and clients just to tap right here. This is a good reset point too. If you are feeling that your energy is down, you're fatigued and stuff, you can just tap right here and just say you're calling your power back, you're calling all of your energy back. This is something that I do all the time as well. It's just kind of like a reset. It's a general reset point. I could go into that in a whole other topic, but I just wanted to make this quick video about tapping. The way I see it is we have cells. We all know that our cells communicate with each other. Our stomach to our brain to our other organs, our stomach to our heart. I mean, all of these things, all our bodies communicating with each other all the time. And so just like with a text message or line of communication, the way I see it is like this old war movie, how there is a line of communication open and then someone starts doing Morse code. So this is the way I see it. I don't look at it as acupuncture points. I see it as this line of communication that's sending these messages back and forth. And when we do Morse code, we're interrupting this line of communication and we're plugging in this new message, this new message that we're trying to send. So if you've ever seen a movie where they do Morse code, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They beep in this new message that's now in this communication line. And so when I explain tapping, I explain it like this, the Morse code. So if you have these negative messages running throughout your body constantly between cells, beliefs, emotions, what you're capable of, what you're fearful of, and all of these things, that's the communication line. So for tapping is you're tapping and you're disrupting that. So you're disrupting that communication. That communication, say the fear is, I'm fearful of being wealthy. So the last video I talked a lot about money, so we're just going to go with that right now. I'm fearful of being wealthy. If this is the communication that is constantly going between your cells, you want to disrupt it. So instead of just saying, I am wealthy, I believe that I'm wealthy, if you have these negative messages running between all of your communication lines, Your conscious words can only do so much. And so that's why tapping disrupts this communication line. So instead of it saying, I'm afraid to be wealthy, or I can't be wealthy, or whatever the belief is, you're now disrupting it. So it's not a clear message anymore while you replace it. So instead of saying, I am not wealthy, I am fearful of wealthy, you can tap in and disrupt that message by adding in a new message. I am wealthy. I choose to be wealthy now. Another big thing is if you don't consciously believe it, you don't want your Rolodex, your index cards calling you out a liar. I've talked about, it was the video before this or the one before that. I've mentioned the Rolodex, how we have our beliefs and everything on like index cards filed away in our Rolodex out of our subconscious. So if we have all of these things telling our conscious words that we're a liar, most of the time we won't believe it when we say, I am this. And so an important thing to start saying is, I choose now to believe. So I choose now to believe that I'm wealthy. I choose to tap it in because, like I said, this is the way I view it. You could just consciously say it, but it's just an extra step. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to tap or snap or anything to disrupt this line of communication while you're plugging in these new ones. So we want to interrupt this and add in the positive. My favorites to tap, if you have my personal 88 declaration list, you'll recognize some of these. I created this list when I was going through all of the beliefs that I did not want to believe anymore. And I made all of these new beliefs, everything from food to my ideal weight to digestive system to metabolism. I created a list, and these are the things that I would tap. And this was a huge, huge reason I was able to release 100 pounds in 13 months. If I didn't do this, I honestly don't believe I would have even released half of those things. By doing these things and tapping them, I was able to disrupt the negative things that I had been so ingrained with, things that I believed, and I was able to replace them with the positives. So if you have this, this list, or you've made your own, that's perfectly fine. You'll recognize some of these that I'm going to go over, and I challenge you, and I recommend, if you haven't, just start tapping on these. If you've been reading them, I'm going to post a link here in a minute. You can read reviews on this on my list. You guys, people have had outstanding results by reading these. Most of these, from what they've told me, is they have tapped them. I think it even says I recommend tapping them when you buy the product. There's like a how to use page in there. But I recommend, if you have this or if you get it, to start tapping your declarations. In my last video, when I talked about success, I told you to tap it, and there's a reason for it. So again, you're disrupting this negative message between your cells. If you don't have it, by watching this video, I went ahead and created a code. I'm going to plug into the video. It's tapping 10 is going to give you 10% off this list. So let me plug that into the video really quick so I don't forget. And then I will tell you some of my absolute favorites. And you guys, these I still do. Let me make sure my sound's down before I open up this live video. So who has tapped before? Has anyone that is watching tapped before? Do you notice the difference between not tapping and when you are tapping? Just let me know. Hey, Bree. Okay. So there's the code tapping 10. It will give you the ability to receive 10% off if you would like my personal list of 88 declarations. These are my favorite, and I want you right now to tap along with me. So if you've never tapped before, or even if you have, these are my favorite that I still use all the time. And you can close your eyes. If you're driving and listening to this, don't close your eyes. But you can close your eyes, and what is most important as well is feeling these things. So I want you to feel these things as you're tapping them. It is safe to be around food. It's what I would constantly say, and I still say it. I'm a naturally intuitive eater. I trust my digestive system. It is safe to be seen. You guys, I still say this constantly. It is safe to be seen. Because there's so many reasons why we hide and why we justify not being seen. And it is safe for me to be my ideal weight. Again, this is just a few of them. If you want the whole 88 list, the link is there, and I'll put it in the title of the video. But that is what tapping is. That's why I tap. I recommend you to try tapping if you haven't tried it yet, and let me know how it goes. If you guys are watching the replay or you're just hopping on, let me know what you're thinking.